Here's where my industry brain starts kicking in. Capcom historically isn't a one fighting game company, right? Like, even if we go back to the Street Fighter 4 era when fighting games returned for Capcom, they are not just a sole Street Fighter company. It usually boils down to that. And we have to be frank here. A lot of the other fighting game franchises that Capcom has tried to tackle ever since Street Fighter 4, unfortunately, don't work out. Street Fighter Cross Tekken didn't work out. Marvel vs. Capcom never worked out. Marvel 3 did okay. Ultimate Marvel 3 eventually did okay. But a lot of these additional games that they would release that are actual big fighting games never see pretty much enough big shit like their premium Street Fighter game. So they do okay. And I think the best one that did the most okay was essentially vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3. At this point, Capcom is largely known as being a Street Fighter, like a 1v1 fighting game, as well as a tag team fighting game company, right? They have like one and then the other. This is not the 90s, right? The 90s is way beyond us. That's a completely different industry, completely different time frame. We're talking like the HD era and beyond. So what I'm saying is that, what if this isn't the worst news ever? Because I know, because I've talked to the producers and the devs for the past 10 years about the possibility of other Capcom fighting game franchises existing. And I know that they have known for a long time that there is a Capcom fighting game franchise that has not been technically picked up, that has not been technically utilized in a very long time. And the last game was a little title that was directed by a dude that used to work at Capcom, that doesn't work there anymore now. And there's a little game called Capcom Fighting Jam. And for anybody that doesn't know, Capcom Fighting Jam was Capcom All-Stars. It was their all-star game. We're going to take games from characters from every franchise, or most franchises that we got right now, and we're going to mishmash them. We're going to cram them all together in a fighting game. And we have this idea that, hey, you know what? We had this big 3D game that was canceled that was a Capcom All-Star game. Well, now we're going to call it the Fighting Jam. And it's going to, or Capcom Fighting Evolution, and cram all these characters together. The game was low-budget shit, right? It was like a bad CVS2. So it unfortunately didn't hit the numbers we wanted. And all I heard for several years is that everyone asks about a new Capcom All-Star game. And the question, or the response I would get to that question, was that we already did that. We did that 10, 15 years ago. We did that with Capcom Fighting Jam. It didn't work. We know that's a big request, but it's not going to happen because the people that are essentially in charge were working on that game, so we're not doing that shit. What I'm getting at is that we're in a much different Capcom now. We're in a much different situation right now. Right now with Capcom, Street Fighter is probably going to do pretty good. Street Fighter 6 is looking to be the game that people actually want, which is important. It visually looks great. It has a lot of great characters. It's got systems. It's got mechanics. It's got content. It might have great online. We don't know yet. It might have crossplay. It might have all the things that a fighting game actually needs to be a premium product in 2022 to 2023. Fantastic, right? Eventually, if that does well, there will have to be another fighting game. And you need to ask the question, what of the other Capcom fighting games would have enough stopping power, right, to really grab audience's attention the same way that Street Fighter did? And then immediately you're like, well, number 2 is Darkstalkers, and then following up right after that is like either Power Stone or Rival Schools, and then you get to the weird ones like, you know, the Star Gladiators and stuff like that. And in my mind, all of those games aren't big enough for a big AAA game. They just aren't. Like, it's incredibly risky to be like, hey, let's just make a AAA Darkstalkers game. I mean, and that led to some interesting things that happened with the Darkstalkers Aren't Dead situation. And that could change because, once again, the division is different. But all I'm saying is that I think the characters from all those franchises are better utilized as, like, piecemeal, right? Let's just pick out the coolest shit from here. Let's just pick out the best stuff from Rival Schools. It kind of worked in Street Fighter V. People really like the addition of characters from other franchises in Street Fighter V, like Akira. They did a lot. People were really excited about that. I was really excited about that. And this is where it makes a lot more sense that if Marvel and Capcom aren't in cahoots anymore, that this could potentially, and we're talking way down the line, bro. We're talking like, this is way after Street Fighter 6 has been out. This is like, Street Fighter 6 has been out a year, right? Before we might even have any inclination that anything is happening. Street Fighter 6 has been out a year. So we're like looking at 2024, 2025 and beyond type shit. But it's starting to make a lot of sense that if Capcom wanted to make another fighting game, I think this is the time to reintroduce Capcom All-Stars. I think that makes a lot of sense. That clearly the MVC series is big because of the fact that it's Marvel and Capcom working together. But Capcom has so many franchises that they can make their own tag team Smash Brothers. Why not? It's something that has just been like meandering for some time and everyone's wondering if it's ever going to happen. And the last time it ever happened was in like 2003, 2004. And somebody just mentioned it, right? This is another thing that I can kind of echo, that the industry is going to change after something like multiversus. Multiversus essentially looked at their existing library and was like, hey, all of these characters we can do whatever we want with them. Well, let's make a fighting game out of it. Let's see if anybody gives a shit. Let's make it free. Let's do all this stuff, right? Small development team, small squad, low budget, relatively low budget. And look what happened, 10 million downloads in the first like week or two. Huge. Absolutely huge. Shit is changing now. You have to imagine that because of numbers like that and because of concurrent numbers like that, we don't even know what money they're making. There is already an assumption that if that many people are playing, there's already an estimated amount of revenue that is coming in per user. And how much they're actually earning, we don't know. But that will get the eyes and attention of other devs. That will absolutely be like, huh, really? Well, what if we made like a big fighting game? What if we made like, one that actually has like a big budget? I think this is the spot where Capcom can hopefully jump in. I really do. I really hope that this is the spot where other companies like Sega, much less Capcom, much less even American devs that have a bunch of franchises and shit. I mean, Jesus, like Microsoft's about to scoop up Activision Blizzard. That's going to happen. Even like there's a lot of franchises out there that feel like they can fit in this space pretty goddamn well. Are they going to be the best online free-to-play experiences? I don't know what to tell you, like if that's going to happen or not. If they're going to become super scummy, that's going to happen most likely in some way. All I'm saying is that let's just get more fighting games in general, and especially in a post like Project L world, where Project L is a tag team game. I think that's going to be a big test, right? That's a big test for how does all this shit work with all these franchises. Project L being an obscure, mechanically weird tag fighter prevented from being successful. Because right now, a lot of people are acclimating Multiversus' success that it's a Smash-like. That's fair. That's fair. It might require a Project L situation to be like, okay, so we have a hardcore 2v2 tag-based assist fighter. Something that is a bit weird to a wide-scale free-to-play audience, right? If that does well, then that means anything can. Even if it has, like, the franchises, right? And then everyone's going to say, oh, it's the franchise that does it. I get it, right? That's just the nature of the industry. All I'm saying is that even if Project L comes out, it's a tag fighter, it's got a bunch of franchise characters, it does well. Man, what if Capcom responded a bit later with their own? What if Capcom All-Stars in some way existed where Capcom can make a tag fighter with all their franchise characters, make it relatively scalable and available on a lot of things? Jesus, man.